Chapter 11. Chandra rose. He showered and took extra time combing his long, dark hair and fluffing it up just so. He took pride in a healthy mane, and it made his ghostly eyes look even more tempting, although he didn't see himself that way. But many a woman had told him how his eyes had drawn them in wanting, almost needing to be close to him. So with that in mind, he kept to his self-care routine, but put an etheric boundary around his heart and soul. It was weird to say, but he almost felt like he was saving himself. Don't get me wrong, he thought. He'd had many a woman, but over the years his days of playing the field had dwindled, and he realized he hadn't had a lover in over a year now. Yikes, he felt, as he pondered what this abstinence was all about. No time to think too much about it. He had a date to keep, and he didn't want to keep his soul sister waiting. He went to the fridge and pulled out the pink roses he had purchased the day before, hoping they weren't wilted yet. He loved Chandra like a sister, and he knew she felt the same about him. He also knew that Sky had nothing to be jealous about, because as luscious as Chandra was, she simply wasn't that kind of woman to Billy. She felt like a mother rather than a lover. And Chandra felt the same for Billy. But more experienced in knowing about past lives and soul karma, she knew that she and Billy had spent many lifetimes in a sibling-type relationship, so it just came naturally to them in this life. Chandra busied herself putting on her makeup and listening to old Billie Holiday on her iPhone. Her phone rang several times as she pushed the screen to decline the calls. She had told all her clients at Soul Step that she was on vacation, but they often forgot, especially when there was what they called a psychic emergency. Times when they felt they needed her expertise to clear some negative energy or cast a love spell, or better yet, clear negative karma from someone. But right now, she had only one thing on her mind, and that was having lunch with Billy. She hoped the restaurant he had chosen made good food. She was used to being pampered by the chefs at Soul Step, and her best friend Jenny was always making her decadent vegan treats. She had nothing to worry about, though, as Billy had chosen the perfect spot. Beach views and vegan-vegetarian treats were the specialties at Collage. Chandra picked up her phone and texted Billy that she was almost ready, so he wrapped the roses up and headed to his car. He was excited yet nervous at the same time. He put down the convertible top of the vintage 1967 Firebird and pulled the car out of Johan's garage. Johan was out of town for the winter and had given Billy full run of the mansion. It was more of a cabin by the woods, but Johan had fixed it up with every modern luxury, so it felt like more of a modern manor house made out of pine logs. Oh boy. It would take Billy about an hour to drive down from the mountains and he's going to Shasta. And then he could take his time getting them to Collage. He had placed a blanket and candles along with a bottle of absinthe. Well, there's where it all goes wrong. No, I'm sorry. I'm doing commentary now. Sorry, I shouldn't be doing commentary. This is an audiobook. And a cooler of dessert treats in the back seat. He was definitely prepared for anything, hoping they could do some sort of seance or psychic reading on the beach after lunch. Chandra placed her phone in her bag and made her way outside to wait for the car to arrive. Her phone rang and she pulled it out to see Sky's name on the caller ID. Sky, love, good morning, dear. Chandra spoke with love for her soulmate. It had been a rocky few months, but they were coming closer together more than ever now that she had laid down the shields upon her heart space and opened herself to love. He had come in right after that, although he had loved her from the moment they had met on her first day at Soul Step. His tenderness for the Amazonian beauty with the Cajun, gotta learn how to do Cajun Creole, better than that, Cajun Creole accent was unprecedented and often bordered on obsession. They were working on his jealousy and healing sessions, and he had become more relaxed where she was concerned, especially where she was concerned around other men. Darling, how are you this morning? He asked as he twirled a celery stick and a virgin Bloody Mary. I miss you, baby. When's your flight again? He said, knowing full well it was in the morning. Sky, dear, you know it's tomorrow. Now, could this little check-in call have anything to do with the fact that I'm meeting Billy today for lunch? she asked, a red flag warning going up in her mind's eye. Now, what makes you think that? He chuckled, knowing she could always see right through him. I just want you to pass on my sincere gratitude to our beloved Billy, he said, really being clear that he wasn't jealous. Tell that son of a bitch that he better treat you right today, he said, half laughing, for he really was fond of Billy. It was more of a brotherly ribbing than a jealousy thing, or at least that's what he told himself. However, somewhere deep inside, Chandra felt there was a little brotherly jealousy behind the kindly facade he was putting on over the phone. Sky, I'll be fine, she said, getting ready to end the call. He jumped in, knowing her propensity to hang up on him if he got too out of hand, although his threshold for that was always higher than anyone on the receiving end of one of his tirades. His mind went back to Rob and the fistfight in the parking lot over Jade. Look, love, just give him my love, okay? That's all, nothing more, he said, somewhat chiding, and Chandra felt that this was also some passive-aggressive attempt at sarcasm, but she couldn't resist Sky, so they continued to work on their relationship. Chandra really felt there was gold behind all the years and lifetimes of hurt that had made this man who he was in this now. Chandra? How long are you going to keep trying like that? Chapter 12, Firebird. Billy fired up the engine of the beastly car that he had restored from a rusty mess when he was in his senior year of high school. That was over 10 years ago, and he had held on to the car despite his new appreciation for earth tending and more sustainable living. He was certain that his feelings about this dream girl, he was calling her Laura now, were real. He had thought he had heard the name Laura in his dream journey, and so he was sticking with that for now. He wanted to know so much about her. He was almost certain now that she wasn't a ghost, like he had been afraid of for so long. He couldn't imagine himself forsaking all other love for a ghostly one, although he thought it seemed like that was what he was doing. No sex in over a year. Well, no sex with a physical woman, he thought to himself. He couldn't help himself when he saw Laura in his mind's eye, and that almost always led to an ecstatic union with her, one where they merged their hearts and souls together in an orgasmic climax. He had to temper that side of things for Chandra, though. He didn't want her thinking he was some perverted fiend who had sexual dreams about a ghost. And they didn't feel sexual like a one-nighter kind of thing. They felt soul-enhancing and liberating. His soul felt filled with power after seeing her and being with her in that way. He was always opened his eyes feeling like a phoenix rising. Oh, and then there's the Firebird. The Firebird's huge engine growled as he turned the key, and off he went down the mountain to a seemingly unassuming lunch, but one that his guides had expertly planned so many months ago to sync up with this moment so perfectly in the weaves of divine timing. As he drove, a song started forming in his mind, and he made a note of the tune so he could write it down later. He loved making music, and right now he was learning to play the bass guitar, although he could play many instruments. It was just one of his many spiritual gifts to heal with music. He had yet to understand how this fit into the many other things he was doing with his healing business, but he knew he would figure it out one day. With the wind in his hair and the song in his heart, his spirits rose even higher.